sometimes one day can change your life. We may think that fate is something given, but at the end of the day, it's actually a tree of decisions. Still, we are far away from AI to conquer the world. In the future, we will need to be, everybody of us will need to be a data scientist. What is actually the main purpose of my presentation? I don't think it's lecture, it's like more fun part. So main purpose is to show the potential, what is currently possible, and maybe inspire you to go extra mile and investigate yourself what is there. Maybe to some extent even to give you some tools which you can use in the future. For example, preparing for next classes, or even preparing for the universities or your future startups. So a couple of words about me. My name is Artem. I'm CEO of Cyntegrity, and in fact founder of Cyntegrity long ago. And before Cyntegrity I was programming, so I had long years of programming and doing data science actually for fun. And that days already recognized there is a lot we could learn from data. And that's what, in fact, the origin, the idea of Cyntegrity comes from. So, small disclaimer, everything that you will see in this presentation is generated by AI, and these are pictures and text and even some ideas. So, I want to start with one personal story, and I want to explain what this butterfly effect is, why it is important. So my personal story is how I got connected with my wife, and actually that's a very interesting coincidence. So my wife went once to a job conference, similar like you, in similar age. Maybe a bit later, when you will be searching already for potential jobs, you will probably hear about such conferences. So they are organized everywhere. And she suddenly bumped into a young lady, and this lady was my sister. And there was one in America. They both studied in MBA in different schools, but they just met themselves, just in this job conference. So they never exchanged any contact details, so they lost connection after that. And a year later, they find themselves in the same building, working in different companies, and they both found job on this job messe. And they suddenly, surprisingly, looked at each other and said, "Oh, I remember you, sir, like you. Let's go for coffee." And since that days, they started to go, like, grabbing coffee, taking some in Starbucks, and taking some sweets. So, and then get connected more and more, and my sister thought that this is a fantastic lady. I need to introduce this lady to my brother. And she organized a trip to Paris. So of course, Paris needs to be in the story everywhere, particularly with women. So that's actually where she invited me, more or less without even telling me much about it, saying, "Hey, come to Paris." I was already here working in Würzburg, not far away from here. And yes, that's in fact where we got connected with my wife step by step, then got married, then got kids, and so on and so forth. So one day changed the life of my wife, changed the life of me, and maybe changing is now lives of literally some team members at Cyntegrity, because my wife helps me also in our HR. So this, what it tells that in our lives, in any complex system, which in fact our life is, sometimes initial conditions, initial change, small change might have a huge impact. And this is what butterfly effect is. So sometimes one day can change your life. Sometimes one sentence can influence something like from somebody else. This is what butterfly effect is, when actually that was found by the guy Edward Lorenz, who was trying to predict, in fact, if it will be rainy or not. and he was failing and failing and failing, and then he figured out that in fact in complex systems any slight movement of a butterfly wing can make a storm somewhere in a different part of the world. So what is your life then? So is it like a combination of butterfly effects? Actually, research tells no, it's not. In fact, there are 3 decisions in your life which will influence it very dramatically. So where you're born is already 50% of your success. So there is an evidence which tells that when we're screened about 800 students, telling that if in case you're coming from a rich family, more or less, then to 50% your income will be approximately the same as the income of your parents. So in fact, where you're born is already half of your success. So don't need to do anything about it. Where did you study? This is the next one. And this is in fact as well proven by research. So in fact, the place, university, business school, whatever, influences hugely. So another 20%. So 50% here, 20% here. And whom you marry. Yeah, that's why I was telling about my wife. So she's influencer. So whom you married is also approximately 10% more. So the rest you can influence. Yeah. So but 70% approximately is more or less these 3 decisions. Okay. So why I'm telling all that? At the end of the day, so we think that fate is more or less kind of given. Or we may think that fate is something given, but at the end of the day, it's actually a tree of decisions. So we go here, and you decide one branch, another branch, another branch, and the next decision opens you a new possibility and gives you a new impact about the next possibilities, yeah, next options. So at the end of the day, success in your life is the quality of your decisions. Okay? And in fact, that's all good. So we all take decisions every day. But the thing is that we are creatures which were like evolutionarily different than where we are now. And we see that every time. When you go to a shop and you see a discount, what it tells, it's in fact trying to influence your decision to buy things. So you see some high price, I don't know, 1,000 euro, and it was discounted to, I don't know, 10 euro. So you think, wow, that's a huge deal. It was 1,000 euro before, and now it's 10 euro. But in fact, what is happening, and is used in psychology, and it's called so-called framing effect. And this framing effect affects you, and you take a decision to buy or not to buy something. And this, what marketing or surrounding salespeople, so to say, try to influence. They know that. And in fact, by opening, so saying, finding some these biases, David Kahneman got a Nobel Prize in economy. So that's actually where our decisions usually are influenced by our emotions. And that's where data science can help you. In fact, it can build up a so-called, I don't know, pyramid of wisdom. So beneath you have a lot of data, and we will come to how to get this data. From the data, you can get the information. From the information, you can acquire knowledge. And if you use this knowledge in the right manner, so to say, then you can come to wisdom. And that's actually all begins here. And that's where data science can assist you and help you. Yeah? That's why data science is so exciting to learn. In fact, you can learn it not only for your job future, but also for taking high quality decisions already now. And it opens really vast possibilities. So what to do tonight, what film to watch, or I don't know what new startup to generate. So that's like to begin, and that's actually where you could like generate or get these decisions based on the data. So let me give you one example, and it can illustrate to you how to use the available data everywhere, like already free data, for example, from public sources, in order to come to certain understanding of reality. So what we've done, we analyzed public data from FDA. FDA is a regulator of drugs in America, and actually more or less everywhere, because all the other countries more or less accept drugs by default from FDA. And we try to figure out what drugs can influence another drug in the body and what it can produce as an effect. So if you take aspirin and drink alcohol, for example, what will happen? So this is in fact not so obvious, because drugs might get connected to each other, so to say, in your body, and generate something else than it was originally. And in order to find it out, and this is very important, interesting question in itself. So we downloaded terabytes of data from FDA, where different companies submit their adverse events, so side effects from different drugs. And then we looked how they connect to each other. So we looked what one drug and another drug have in common if they're taken simultaneously. So this, after processing of tons of information, we came up with a public website, which we in fact allowed to everybody to use. Yeah, and this website can combine different medications together. And who knows this medication, acetyl salicylic acid? So this is the aspirin. And if you would take, for example, alcohol, which is, by the way, also a chemical substance, and drug as well. I'm not promoting it. I'm rather showing the dangers of it. So you can see that toxicity is here increased. So a combination between these two drugs, in fact, is dangerous. And you see the patterns, so to say, from taking this drug simultaneously. And if you would explore further and further, you can understand, in fact, what happens if you take this, like if suddenly, occasionally, something like happens that you take this drug simultaneously. Again, another example I have prepared, but my wife said not to use it, like what happens if cocaine is connected with alcohol. Again, these are very dangerous drugs, and in fact, both of them in combination are even more dangerous. In fact, if you type in Google what is the most dangerous combination, cocaine and alcohol is one of them. Yeah. So we've analyzed, based on public information, publicly available, we haven't spent any dollar on that, used publicly available tools to generate this information. And now we are able to show this to everybody who's curious in combining different drugs and figuring out what could be the consequence. And this is the example I was trying to prepare for originally, so you can see even more red lines, so to say. That means combining these two substances in the body, it's even worse idea ever. So that's, in fact, we came to a new knowledge, and if we can share this knowledge with everybody, for example, with doctors and with patients, then they could use them for their everyday life. So they know, okay, what happens if I take this medication and this medication? Should I, expect certain, I don't know, dizziness or diarrhea or whatever? So how to do that? And that's where I'm going to show you for some methods and tools like what to begin with. Yeah, so how to start. For example, you have an idea to investigate something, where to start it. And presumably you all know these sources, but if not, I can give you some more ideas. I personally liked, so of course, Scholar that on Google, you use it probably every day. Finance.yahoo.com, not so obvious. If you have any like economical question, the good thing about this source is that you can download it, everything in a ready-to-use format. So none of the other systems that like financial systems is not offering. So here you go any, for example, stock exchange historical values, and you can download all of them and then start building your models, your analysis. Our world in data, that's where you can find vast majority of information to whatever you want to know about the world, about countries, about different, about poverty in the world and the distribution of poverty, about health, historical data, and so on and so forth. So, like, get the data is the initial step. And in fact, if you haven't found anything right away, what I can give you as an idea, ask for data donation. And this is not so obvious for me. When I started Cyntegrity, in fact, we ask for data donation, and that's literally a term which companies understand. You write them and say, I'm a student, for example, from this school, from this university, from this, I'm doing a research project, could you donate data to me? And in majority of cases, I've tried it and it worked. So companies react positively. They see that as a social engagement, supporting that, and they donate data. In fact, you get data sets which you can analyze. All right, then what's next? We need to clean it. Yeah. So in fact, the hardest part is to clean because you will get diverse information. It is saved in American, European, and other formats, and you need to bring it to all in order to analyze. So what we advise, learn some programming language, and Python is one of them. You probably have chosen it because it's so simple, straightforward, and there are large libraries already available. So again, any programming language could assist you, and use Google Colab. Have you seen it, Colab? This is the really fantastic thing. In fact, you could start writing any code right away. You can, I will show it right away. So, yeah. So in fact, this is again free. You can start typing in Python right away, and whatever you are writing, you can immediately execute, and you can see the all the details about execution right straightforward. Right away. So I'm showing you. So I'm executing very simple script, which by the way is available for free on the internet. And what this script does, it downloads now the weights for neural network, and these weights can be used right away in your script. And after it's finished, now it loads everything, and then you could use it, in fact, for something useful. And in this particular case, this neural network can generate images based on prompts. So whatever you decide, whatever you write as a text, it converts it to an image. And this prompt could be very different. So any idea, anything you want to try?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Anything more than Star Wars? So.
Sports is great.
To what?
Let's throw a panda in there.
Star Wars Panda.
Star Wars Panda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's try this. Star Wars and Panda. Let's get connected. So what it does, in fact, it tries to create an idea first, then design an image based on like learning weights, which it get already Okay.
That is
All right. So
So did that design it itself, or did it search for something online?
no. It designed itself. It literally designed it in this particular moment.
Yeah.
So that's why you can come with the weirdest idea like here. And the more you write, the more precise the image will get. So again, all the images in the presentations are designed, generated this way. And that's where it can save you some time in preparation, because at the end of the day, it's time is something very precious. So now I need to end up again and start again. Okay, so then you can do summary of anything you kind of found in internet. Yeah. So, for example, let's imagine soon you will write some articles or theses, and you will be reading a lot of materials. And rather than spending the time of reading and understanding, you could use already summarizer, and this summarizer condense everything in 1 to 3 sentences. It depends on like what you can. And this summarizer, in fact, there are large varieties of them. I will show a couple of something which is more exciting than just summary. This is in fact answering questions and asking and answering questions. So that works pretty much on a similar way than a summary, but it's more than a summary. So it can literally read what you have submitted to this engine, and then you can ask the questions even without reading the summary. So, for example, and I could so for the purpose of the exercise, I have downloaded an article, a scientific article by Gary Klein about prospective hindsight, and I assume you haven't heard about it, and you don't need to. So I'm copying everything in. So I'm copying everything in the context to a neural network, and then I will ask a question. So what is prospective hindsight? So I think it's not a mistake. So and then it gives me an answer. So imagine that an event has already occurred. And that's exactly what prospective hindsight is. So in fact, prospective hindsight is a method to imagine something bad happened before it happened. And alone that can increase the success of any project by 30%. So this is a very good publication. So if you haven't read it, just I advise you to take a look. But in fact, that's what it can be used already now for asking questions, getting answers based on any content that you have available. All right. Who have heard about Talk to Books from Google? Okay, let me show that. So this is a very interesting project where you could ask questions, and the answer will be searched in books. And for example, what is success in life? Whatever. And it searches in all the books available and immediately shows you not exactly matches, but the answer to this question. And again, you need to read the book, of course, but at least it demonstrates you where to look at and even highlights the passage which presumably answers this question. Okay, but imagine you don't want to read, you don't want to ask, but you need to submit an essay, for example. So, what's there available for you then? So in this case, you have really writers at your hands, and these writers can. So you could ask, okay, what do you want? For example, you need a blog idea or an outline. You need an essay. So what what language you need, and you give some keywords to this. I wonder why it's. So and you give a keyword and then ask to artificial intelligence to write something around it. So I put data science is important in our lives, and it generates an article for me about it. It generates already with outlines and the keywords which I can use, for example, for a website in order to optimize the Google search engine, for example. You need an idea for a new startup, no problem as well. Idea generator. And here you could say, and this is what I've prepared for this training. So brainstorm. No, here, like let's brainstorm about, for example, books with VR and computers. And it generates ideas like how to combine books, and these ideas are really valid things. So you can analyze and you can literally see how, for example, a book where a reader is able to enter virtual reality in order to experience a story from first hand. So, in fact, these ideas and this something which you literally can analyze and then evaluate. So, yeah. Still, we are far away from AI to conquer the world. And this is the example. If you type sometimes salmon in the river, then you get sometimes this example. But it doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, it just takes time until it gets clever and clever. So what I want now is to show you that, in fact, in various data sets, there are some information about the pattern, about the knowledge, and you need just to know how to unpack it, how to get this information. So what I've done now, I have a data set. I want to show to you how to analyze it very quickly. And this is just an Excel. And this Excel contains data set, and there is some information, there are some patterns inside. And what I'm doing now, I'm trying to visualize these patterns. And I go here, I add additional rule, I put some visualizations, and in order to see these patterns, you just need to zoom out. So that's it. Thank you very much. So any questions?
Maybe I have a question while you're thinking about it. So how do you keep track of all this, so apps, opportunities, all the chatbots, everything? Is there I don't know, a monthly newsletter or whatever which you receive where it's all or do you find it yourself? How does it work?
So there are definitely communities which where you could literally try yourself. And what is the system? Kiddle or how it's called?
Oh, Kaggle.
Kaggle.
Yeah.
Kaggle, for example, where you could find fantastic examples of using AI with code right away, and you could copy this code to Colab from Google and execute. Again, just a couple of clicks away, and can find, for example, generate images. It can find objects in images. It can compose music or even can predict the deaths on Titanics. So there is an example we just saw today where a neural network can predict who is dying in Titanic first, rich people or poor people, so to say. So in fact, these communities are something to step into and already explore, and they are really open. They are really open, and this is the sign that is just in the very beginning. So I remember my early days when the internet has appeared, and everything was open. There's nobody came to an idea to monetize it first. So it's always starts with it, and this is literally where AI at the moment is. So you could try it out. You could use it for your own purposes. Very simple, straightforward. There is a lot of tools, open source. No need to pay to anything. And again, if you go a bit step further and you ask for data donation, ask for additional license for students, usually all the companies offer it for free. So long story short, again, there are systems and communities which I advise to go into. Many examples which I've shown are from these communities. You can, from links, understand and explore more. Anything else? Any new? Yeah?
Do you think that artificial intelligence still has a long way to go? Or do you think that we've only started, or this is the middle and we just have to finish, or do you think there's so much more in the future that we can do with artificial intelligence?
There are two types. We need to understand that in fact there is a general artificial intelligence, which we can literally assume that's comparable to what human being has. And there are dedicated or focused AI. And what I've shown today, these are smarter programs. At the end of the day, behind each smarter programs, there is a lot of programming things. And it can do only one task. Either it generates image or composes music, but it cannot, I don't know, combine both of them yet and make some conclusions on that. Human beings can. So it's actually more advanced generic AI than this focused AI which we have now. Nevertheless, we see that where humans are good, for example, image recognition, AI is also good. In fact, a young kind of baby can recognize the face of the mother literally after the birth, and it can do it very, very quickly, so amazingly quickly. But it cannot. So baby cannot compute things, for example. So this is the fundamental, the basic skill that every brain already brings, and that's why the AI, which more or less simulates how brain structures work digitally, in fact, is good in those particular elements as well. What surprises me personally, that everybody was saying that long ago, that AI will never compete with creativity. And now we see these attempts, idea generation, texting or writing of poems, music composing. That's already kind of approach where I would say pictures are very creative, for example, which I saw. So from here to your question, yeah, it's a huge way still to approach or to come to more like a generic AI, what we consider could self-reproduce, could improve itself and solve really complex problems. We are still far away from that. However, for your needs already, for your next couple of years, you could use these tools already to be successful in one way or another.
Maybe the last question is for future cooperation, maybe with your company. Do you do can they do work experience? Next year it's grade 11, or I don't know, internships or anything like that. So for those who are interested, how can they?
Good ideas. So in fact, so our company is definitely focused on data science. We applied in a kind of clinical trial space, which is not so straightforward. So to say, you probably never heard about clinical trials so far, or maybe you've heard it like in the COVID times, yeah, that COVID was make it a bit obvious. Nevertheless, in fact, yeah, if you have fun in data science and if you want to do some internships, yeah, we have fun projects as well. So we could give you some tasks and coaching, in fact, to try something out. And this one, which I was presenting in the combination different drugs, that's one of them. But we have a lot of other ideas what to play with. So I can say for yourself even, yeah, for your personal next career time, so to say, exploring these tools will definitely do the good. CEO of Google once said, Mr. Schmidt, he said that like in the future we will need to be, everybody of us will need to be a data scientist. And I agree with him. So in fact, data which is generated now tone-wise, somebody who starts getting the information from it, from knowledge from it, in fact, will win tomorrow. And that's why everywhere, and not only, I don't know, in pharma space, but in any business, it will be affected or is affected by data science in one way or another. Yeah.
Thank you so much.